And if we're going to allow people like him in, people like Scott Benton in, literal foreigners that came from refugee statuses like Baraka, if Baraka are going to be allowed in, it's over. And I mean that nicely. And this is why I'm saying it's nice having the hopium. It's nice saying all of these slogans. And I mean this, I don't mean to be a dick. And I know that people are hopeful. And I'm glad that they're hopeful. And I'll say something about that in a minute. But if you're going to allow these foreign subversives and this big wave of money into the party, which comes from these people that fundamentally work against the core of nationalism, it's going to be subvertive and nothing will happen. The nothing will ever happen chud will come out and start clicking his button. That is terrible. And what do you think will make it worse? I guarantee this. What do you think will make it worse? A poll came out regarding the Makerfield by-election, showing that Labour on 49%, the Reform Party is on 39%, and the Restore Party is on 8%. What do you think will make it worse? If people like Ben Habib are working for the party, being involved in the party, campaigning for the party, and then the election happens, Labour win it, Reform lose by, let's say they lose by 6% and Restore gets 8%. All right, let's just say generously that happens. What do you think pisses people off more? Who do you think is going to get the blame for that? Who do you think is going to get the blame for that? Who in their right mind would not turn around and blame Restore? No one's going to blame Reform if Reform grab 3-4 times more votes than Restore. No one's going to blame Reform. Everyone's just going to blame Restore. They're going to blame Restore for losing the by-election. They'll look at people like Ben Habib and go, that's gay. I said this before, and I mean this again, and I'm being nice about this again. The Restore candidate is terrible. She's so bad. She's so bad. There's no charisma. There's no energy. Frankly, it's a terrible campaign. And I hate to say it, and I'm going to sound like such a dick right now. I know I'm being the contrarian. I know that Steve's going to message me later and be like, Hugh, what the fuck? I'm going to be like, look, Steve, I'm just saying it how it is. Restore deserves to lose this. And I feel bad because I know that some people have done great canvassing work for them. And I know that there's this much hopium. People feel hope in the air. They want to feel this hope. But Restore deserves to lose this. There is no charisma. There is no energy. There is no clear consensus on policy. There is no direction. This was a suicidal election. People like Ben Habib are the biggest subversive and they're being welcomed with open arms. People like Peter Thiel are openly supporting this idea. Tommy Robinson, good friends of Ben Habib, always has Ben Habib on at his UTK rallies. He will then start jumping on the bandwagon. Who's to say he doesn't end up getting promoted by Restore? They fundamentally deserve to lose this because, as I keep saying, nationalists and the British people deserve better. And I know that sounds like people aren't ready to hear that. But if I have to be the only guy to tell you, you deserve better. You deserve better. Stop settling for less. It is your future. It is your country. It is your tribe. It is your vision. And if that's being pushed to the side by people like Ben Habib because he's being welcomed in with open arms, then you should be demanding better. You should be saying, fuck you, you're not owed our votes. We want a nationalist party. We want a nativist party. We want clear consensus on remigration and how to roll back on demographic replacement and preserve the future of the British race. That's what we want. We don't want to be co-opted into once again subscribing to cultural nationalism and giving away our country, our demographics. It's great saying you'll repeal the Race Relations Act, but then if you're allowing people like Ben Habib in, do you think he's going to want to repeal the Race Relations Act? Absolutely not. If you give these people roles and give them a chance in the party, they're not going to want to repeal that because it affects them. This is their special privilege that they've had in our society with laws that were made on purpose to benefit them against our interest. Nationalists deserve better. There are millions of genuine nationalists out there that want a homogenous society, that care about the future of the British race, that care about the homogeneous of where this country should be, that care about the future of their children, and they have so much hope that we can finally have nativism, that we can finally have collectivism, that we can finally have a nationalist party. Do not subvert that with people like Ben Habib, people like Scott Benton, people like Tommy Robinson, people like Baraka, people like Alistair, people like Montgomery Toms. And some people have been quite disingenuous to me. And like, look, I will sustain by what I've said from the beginning. And you can go back and watch the shows. You can go back and watch my collab with Mark Collette. You can go back on what I've said. I've said continuously, my support is not behind Rupert Lowe. It never has been. My support is behind our people. And if Restore is the mechanism which allows our people to nativize and collectivize, that is what I will support. I've also stated, if they begin to turn against that, I will withdraw my support. And that's what's beginning to happen. And that's why I'm beginning to get more annoyed. And I've always stuck by that message that my support is behind our people. And it always will be. So I do find it a little bit disingenuous when people like Reece talking. And look, I've always had a soft spot for Reece. I've allowed Reece on my show multiple times. I've defended him against these people, and he's coming out and he's saying, you were defending Rupert as a Zionist and saying they were going to deport 10 million people. You're mind raped. I find that very disingenuous. I said they could put forward policy that sees up to 10 million people deported over the span of 10 years. I didn't call Rupert a non-Zionist. I said I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because the tweet was a year ago and he was part of Reform and he surrounded himself with anti-Zionist Zoomers. That's what I said. I never ever declared that I trusted Rupert Lowe. I said that if this is an opportunity for our native people to collectivize, that's what I'll put my support behind. But it was always at an arm's length. Mark Collette realised that I was at arm's length. I spoke to David Clues about this, who knows that I was always at an arm's length. Even people like Zuma and Steve know that I've always been at an arm's length. I've had extensive conversations with them about this. So I do find it a bit disingenuous when people are trying to make out as if I was shilling for Restore this entire time, which is not true. I've continuously called out the Thatcherite economics. I've continuously called out the subversion. I quite openly called out Scott Benton being given a role. I called out their treatment of Saskia. I called out the language of people like Charlie Downs saying that to be British you had to be Christian, and said that's bullshit. I spoke about these things. It's not like I hid it. Because I'm on the side of the British people. I'm on the side of our future. I'm on the side of who we are as a tribe. I want the best for the British people. And I will always stand by that. So when I see people like Ben Habib being personally invited and offered a chance to work with Rupert now and Restore, when he was slamming it 2 months ago, saying it's gone full tilt racist, he's disavowing Steve Laws and saying that if he was Rupert, he would kick out Steve Laws. I am going to stand up against that. I am going to say, hold on a minute. Nationalists make the foundation of Restore. They make it different. They give it its support. Without nationalists, Restore will collapse. Without nationalists, there is no long-term longevity of Restore. You cannot turn against that base. You cannot lose that base. You cannot afford to lose that base. You cannot afford to allow people like Ben Habib to subvert it. That's exactly how we end up in these situations. You cannot afford for people like Lord Bamford to have a financial interest over Restore. That can't happen. Because when that happens, you will be subverted into Zionism. You'll be subverted into civic nationalism and cultural nationalism. You'll be subverted away from nativism. You'll be subverted into accepting these foreign identities. You'll be subverted into policy that actually doesn't deport people, that actually doesn't set forward mass deportation or remigration, that in fact works against it. That's what I'm standing up for. That's what I'm speaking about. So honestly, no, I think this is going to sound bad. I can't stand Andy Burnham, and he should have no chance at becoming Prime Minister. The Restore candidate do not deserve to win this election. The on-the-ground team has done a very good job, and I will give them this. This is the collectivism I'm talking about. The actual campaigners for Restore, the average person that's on the street week in, week out. People like Lewis. Lewis is a fucking patriot. They are the people that are being hard done by now by the subversion that's being put into the party. They are the people that make Restore. They are the people that have pushed this election forward. Rebecca Shepherd is just some dumb woman that goes, yes, sir, no, sir, to whatever Rupert says. And they don't deserve to win. They don't deserve to win. The Reform candidate's a fucking Chad. He's funny as... He's one of the boys. He's one of the boys. And this is my official announcement tonight. This is my official announcement tonight, which is going to get me in trouble, but I'll say it anyway. I told you that Reform should have lost the local elections because it would have put no pressure on Keir Starmer's premiership. It would have put no pressure on the Labour Party to try and remove him. There would be no by-election if Reform had lost the local elections. That is what I warned you about, and I stand by that, and I guarantee you I am correct in that. That is what I tried to avoid. That is not the reality we currently find ourselves in. The reality that we currently find ourselves in is Andy Burnham about to become Prime Minister of the United Kingdom and rebuild the Red Wall, move to more of a Blairite standpoint, and rebirth the Uni Party and Labour. We cannot stand for that. If we see that, there is no chance of nationalism by 2029. You will see the revival of the Tory party. You will probably see a joint coalition between Reform and the Conservative Party in 2029 to win the election and then have a coalition government which will see the complete removal of nationalists because the centre-right has always worked against the far-right. In fact, the centre-right will literally hold hands with the left to shut down the far-right every single time. I cannot stand the idea of Burnham becoming Prime Minister. I cannot stand the idea of a Reform-Tory coalition. Sadly, Reform jumped the gun on this massively, and I've said this since the beginning of this by-election. But what I will say is tonight I am endorsing Robert Kenyon to win the by-election. I don't think he will, and I think Labour will pull it forwards, but Restore don't deserve to win it. Not with the subversion, not with a candidate like Rebecca Shepherd. We must keep Burnham from becoming Prime Minister. Otherwise, Restore is dead in the water. It's already on that way out because of the subversion, and it's going to get a whole lot worse if Burnham is Prime Minister. And I know that sounds disheartening, but I don't want to say I told you so about the local elections, but sadly I did. I didn't want it to get to that situation, but sadly it's at that situation. I didn't want Reform to have to win this by-election, but sadly they're going to have to win this by-election. I didn't want to say Restore is subverting nationalists and pushing away its core base, but sadly it is. And the situation we find ourselves in right now is the Uni Party or not the Uni Party. And if Burnham gets in, the Uni Party is back. And if Labour lives, so do the Conservatives. And if the Conservative lives, they will be forming a coalition with Reform at the next general election. And then we are done. Then we are done. Then we will be sold out to foreign business. Then we will be in foreign wars. Then we will look at the Reform Jewish Alliance dominating our politics and big lobbyist groups dominating our politics. You have to demand more. If you don't demand more, you will lose. If you don't demand more, it is over. If you don't demand more, nationalism will never, ever take political power. You cannot be subverted. You must be aggressive in this situation. And being aggressive means ridding subversion from nationalist movements. It means ridding it from the nativist party and actually putting influence back into nationalist hands over the party. That means with threatening membership over the party. That means with threatening Restore, that they will lose their core support base. If you don't do that, if you don't threaten them away from failure, they will just fail.